Hello, and welcome back to Retrieving Sanity with your podcast host, Keegan. And this is your podcast for all mental health, addiction, recovery issues, and topics. And today we have an extra special guest. He's actually the co-host of the show, and y'all know him. Y'all love him. His name is Simba, or if you want to call him by his actual name, you can. But we're just going to go ahead and go with Simba right now. So, Simba, how have you been lately?
Dude, I have been on a life-changing journey. A lot of ups, a lot of downs, but a lot of great moments, you know. A lot of historical pivotal marks that I've hit. So
Heck yeah, man. I'm super excited to hear all that. And watching your journey on Facebook has been inspiring and awesome as well. But real quick, you are kind of sideways.
okay, I was gonna ask you if you could see that, but okay. For some reason
Yeah.
it like went sideways on my end, and I don't know.
Am I sideways on your screen?
It went sideways when we went live, so I didn't know if like that was the thing, but there we go. Is it better? I was hoping you wouldn't be able to see that.
Yeah, totally. I saw it change like after I hit go live, and I was like, "What's going on?" But Simba, it is super awesome to have you back on because I mean, it's been a hot minute since we've actually like had you on the show. So, what do you want to like? What's your proudest achievement that you've gotten so far within the last year?
God, there's so many, and so many of them you wouldn't think were like should be like the biggest highlight. But one of the biggest highlights for me was when I became HIV undetectable. You know,
Ooh, yeah, that's a big one.
it was
Right.
it was a big one because it kind of gave me the time to accept it. You know,
Mhm.
it wasn't something that I truly was like wasn't on my bingo card.
Mhm.
But it happened and it wasn't fatal. And the fact that it happened so quick was just that my body took onto the medicine very well. You know, I was close to an AIDS diagnosis. So the way that it was described was like at a certain number of your T count and the virus, it's an
Mhm.
AIDS diagnosis. And even if once you get better, you still have an AIDS diagnosis. But I was like, right there. So it
Huh.
was kind of scary news at the time,
Mhm.
and about 32 days later was when I had my results that said undetectable. And so me and my friends went out and made a big deal, celebrated it, and it wasn't like the thing like, you know, like when the lady at the freaking restaurant was like, what are we celebrating? We were like how do you tell somebody like with a smile on your face like, oh, that I'm undetectable already?
Well, I mean, I guess you could just be straightforward and honest about it, right? Because it's something that you're proud of, so why hide it? But
Right.
you're right. Like a lot of people would kind of look at you and be like, "Huh?" Because I know if I heard that, I'd be like, "Interesting." But it'd be more because it's a first that I've seen someone be celebratory about it, which is definitely something to celebrate, you know?
Yeah. I
So,
mean, I guess it was like celebrating like life kind of goes on, you know?
mm-hmm,
I mean, it's the story of it happening was kind of like a sad pity story. And like
mm,
that's what I thought. Like whenever it happened, the first person I reached out to was Kelly.
okay, yeah.
And she was like, you won't be alone. Let me help you. I've set up these appointments. I've talked to these people. All I need is the go from you. What do you want me to do? Like she gave
Mm,
me the choice, but she did like the footwork for me because I was just
mm,
like mentally and emotionally not available to
yeah.
do so. But she didn't let me be alone. The nurses there were like, you won't be alone. She actually said, what's your favorite Taylor Swift song? We played it while the results were coming in. And
Uh-huh.
she's like, no matter what happens, you're not going to be alone. So let's go through this. And then the very next day, actually that same day as I was leaving the clinic, I had volunteered for a conference. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was like, fuck, I'm not going. But I decided to go. And
Huh.
somebody pulled me aside, and he'd kind of been watching me struggle. Nobody really knew what was going on. But he kind of
Mm-hmm.
just pulled me aside and he's like, you know, you don't have to suffer alone. And that was like the third time I'd heard that. And so I was like, okay, let people in and let me like
Mm,
utilize, let me live, you know, or let me hurt while others
mm,
carry me. And
Mm.
I did that, and then like 30 days later, it was just like we had gone through so much with so many people that
Mm-hmm.
it was like, is the medicine going to be available to me because of certain aspects, you know?
Uh-huh.
And so, how long is it going to be available to me? And there was just so much, so many milestones to get, so many hurdles, you know?
Huh.
Because of course you
Yeah.
need an ID to get medication, and you need, yeah. And
Yeah.
it was a battle, but once it was over, it was so like well worth the celebration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, for sure, man. Like that is a huge milestone. It's an accomplishment of all sorts. And I love how you said that it was exercise and allowing yourself to hurt while others carry you. You know, because we're so used to being like, oh, no, I got this. I know for myself, I'm super duper independent. And that is one of my biggest weaknesses. And I thought it was a strength, but it's really not. So, how did you find yourself able to actually be vulnerable? Like, was it from Kelly actually kind of like allowing you the first space to do so? Or was it more of an inkling that you had to let someone in? Otherwise, you've kind of, we, in our experiences, we've had a lot of moments where it's like we got this, we know we can reach out for help, but we still stonewall people and we don't let them in. And so did you sit there and like kind of reflect on those experiences before she reached out and gave you the space, and whenever you saw the space it was like, oh yeah, I'm taking it?
So, yes, I think I'm pretty sure I reflected it because my sponsor's favorite line is, "How has that worked out for you in the past?" And if you think about it, it doesn't. When I look at hurt as like hurt, regardless of the situation,
Mm-hmm.
um, going through the same thing like back when we were roommates, I was in a hurting stage, but I
Mm-hmm.
chose to hide it from everybody, and it didn't get me anywhere.
Oh.
What got me to the decisions and the actions that got me HIV were because I was hurting, and I refused to let the world know that I was hurting and falling down and that I couldn't. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
refused to let anybody know that. And at this point, I had already lost that battle so many times that I was like, I can't do this. And then Kelly offering that space of like, look, I just need you to show up. But what do you
Mm-hmm.
want me to do? Like, it was still on me to like say yes, but she was still
Uh-huh.
like right there, ready and willing.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I reached out to my sponsor. He was the second person to know. Then my immediate friends were like the next to know. And slowly it just became easier to say what I was going through.
Mm-hmm.
But it was only to like my support system, because like I still wouldn't go to meetings and share where I was at. I still wasn't ready to let the world know.
Mm-hmm.
But when I shared it proudly of like, this is my story, this is what I'm going through,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just who I am. It just is, you know? I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
it's like I was chosen by the world to go through this, but it definitely was a consequence of my actions, and I took the hit, but I didn't fall.
Mm. Yeah. I love that. You took the hit, but you didn't fall, and it really does just show a lot of resilience there, and a lot of just you're doing a whole lot of good just by reflecting on past experiences. And I think that that's something a lot of us do, and we don't necessarily do it in a right balance though, because it's kind of like, what if I did this different, you know? And it's stuck in that what if I did, and you added on, what if I did this now, you know? So I love that. It's awesome.
You know, Kelly has the most awesome ways of like reading people. I'm sure you know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the first 6 months, things were going good, and so I'm always talking to her about the good changes and the good things
Hmm.
happening. But she asked me a specific question. She's like, "How are you doing about the HIV?" And I was like, "Why would you start off
Mm.
with like, why would you like?" And she pointed out that then ever since that had happened, I would grab a pillow and I would sit on it, like hiding. And she's like, I just feel like you're still hiding a part of like you're hurting.
Mm-hmm.
And we did these exercises of like what I would say to him, to the person,
Mm-hmm.
what I would do, and like she just let me have that space of like being angry and saying like I wanna hit you. I wanna like beat the hell out of you, you know? She gave me a pillow. I'm gonna hit it. But I never realized that how much anger I hold in, even though like it's like justified sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
I guess. But that's what I mean. Like there was so much into that whole scenario
Uh-huh.
that at the end of the day, it was worth celebrating once I knew I was in the green light. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it wasn't
For
one
sure.
of those things to hide and be like, "Whew, that happened. I'm safe." It was more like, "Holy shit, that was exhausting."
Yeah. Damn, that's really good. I just love this because I know Kelly, of course, because she was also my counselor. So sorry about name dropping you, but we're not going to say her last name. So there's a lot of Kellys in the world. So if you're a Kelly out
Kelly
there,
Crawford.
real quick, Simba, your audio changed kind of. Did your earbuds disconnect?
No, can you or can you still hear me?
I can still hear you. It's just like different. Like, and now that was weird. It felt like electronic signal just kind of changed again. Anyways, I think we're good. So I was just making sure that you can still hear me decently.
Yeah, no, yeah, I hear
Okay,
you.
cool. But one of those things that you mentioned, like, so I know that we spoke before, like we hit record, and I was like, I don't necessarily want to air this one out, but I mean, I'll do so, but without name bombing, I guess. Because whenever we were roommates in Oxford, well, I mean, there's a name bomb. Whoops. I'll just leave it at that. Oxford. In this specific chapter, whenever we were roommates, I was going through a lot of pain myself, just out of Nehemiah, you know, and sitting there like scared. That was the biggest thing. I was scared. I was hurt. I still didn't know what was going on necessarily, and I was on medication that I don't think I should have been on because I'm pretty sure like 100.9% I was misdiagnosed with bipolar instead of just ADHD. Because guess what? That place doesn't diagnose people for ADHD, so they'll help treat it with non-stimulants, but they won't test for it. So I was like, okay, so now
Oh,
after doing a now after doing a DNA test, ADHD is in my genes, mood swings are not. So I was like, does bipolar and ADHD, like, can they mask as each other? They do. So now that I know that, it's easier to kind of step into myself because I was losing a part of myself with the medication and I didn't even know it. And so I was trying to find those parts of me that were broken and still wounded and stuff, but they were getting further away the more I was taking the medication. So I was suddenly not able to really feel as much and everything. And so while I was at Nehemiah, this scared the shit out of me. And so my anxiety came back like tenfold. And that's what I used to do was I was on Xanax for years, prescribed. And then whenever I stopped that, I picked up drinking all the way until I didn't anymore. And so afterwards, I didn't know what to do. And so I was having a lot of food allergies and stuff. And that was the thing. So I took some Benadryl, and then one day I took two, was it two or three? And I realized that my anxiety also went away. And so my allergies were taken care of, and my anxiety was taken care of. So I was like, this is good. Little did I know that was not good, you know? I was hurting. I was hurting real bad, and no one like really saw it. And if they did, no one asked about it, you know? And that kind of just made me go like, okay, well, I'm doing good, you know, like no one notices anything, so I'm taking care of myself, I'm doing the right thing. And then, you know, like I I didn't reach out to let people know I was hurting that much until um someone caught wind of a relapse from me, which wasn't true. There was one time where I had to do a piss test, but I couldn't pee. You know why? Because my insides were inflamed from allergies. So I was like, so what happened was I actually got expelled from one of the Oxford houses for a little bit. I had to go to the ER to get a CAT scan and prove why I can't pee. And so while I was there, I was able to pee like 4 hours later after the CAT scan. And the drug test came back and they were like, no, you're good. So I brought it back to the house and I was like, here's my CAT scan results and here's this and everything. So some people thought that that was a full-blown relapse of why I couldn't pee, right? So a little bit later on, someone caught wind of this whole situation and they thought that they could relapse and stay in the house, and that wasn't the case. And they ended up, well, finishing the job, I should say, for themselves, because they had tried this a couple of times and our housemates at the time weren't very tactful, if that's the right word. And so he had a bad relapse and came back. He was going to get kicked out. I tried to follow him and everything, and I lost him. It was raining, and so I'm also still new to the DFW area. I didn't know where all the hotels were, and so and he got a good head start on me. But anyways, long story short, called the police, everything, and then 3 days later, hear back from them. They found him. So yeah, I've been dealing with that kind of pain too, of like feeling like someone's life is on my hands, but I know it's not only me. It goes back to everyone in that whole situation, and from the very get-go, from everyone, and it kind of sucks. But at the same time, I can't sit there and push blame where it's not, so that's why I'm kind of owning it now. And people can sit there and they can come at me if they want, but I mean, it is what happened, and if they want to say that the story is different, then they can say it, but they need to come to talk to me. But that was the pain that just, it almost could have killed me too, you know? And so that pain, you're experiencing different types of pain because everyone's life is different, but it's also similar because pain is pain, right?
Pain is pain.
How do you not compare your pain to other people's pain? Because, I mean, a lot of us like to go, well, I'm hurting, and it's so personal that it's very much no one will understand this, because addiction is a pain, right? And in addiction, we're like, damn, like, no one is as bad as I am. No one hurts as bad as me. So how do you not do that with your pain anymore?
Well, I try not to judge pain. Like, I just try to be there for people, you know? Because I was giving one of my coworkers kind of like the runaround of like, not the runaround, but like a quick version of my life story. And she was just like jaw to the floor. She's like, I don't think you realize how much like misery you've been through. I was like, I do and I don't. I was like, at this point, my pain gauge, like, it's gotta be like a bleeding like artery, like intestines hanging out for me to actually feel like it's a pain, because like I'm just so used to it at this point. But not everybody is, you know? And so when people say that their relationship problems, so like this one coworker, she was like, my boyfriend doesn't text me all day and he doesn't like to talk, and she's just like crying, and like it just hurts her so bad on the inside, you know? And I'm like, mine annoys me. Like, I hate when he asks me how my day is. Like, I don't, you know? But she's feeling the same pain that I was feeling when I was angry at somebody for HIV, you know? And so I just try to be there for her in that way, because mine's not greater than hers. Hers isn't lesser than mine. Like, it's just, she's in pain. I was in pain. And the important thing is that she was like sharing, you know? She was sharing where she was at, and that's what I love about me, is that people can like come to me and like give me those situations, and I'm just like, you poor child.
Yeah. So it sounds like you're kind of doing the whole you're healing by helping others see the way too. Is that it?
COA. Yes, and that has been the best part. I did some volunteer work
Oh.
at this place that does help
Mm.
people who are diagnosed with HIV. And let me
Mm.
tell you, when they would walk in there, I could tell that they were a first timer because of the way that they sit and they look. And it made me realize that like this might be a place where I can step in and like give some guidance, or just a friend to hang out with, someone to like when you're feeling down about it, call. Because the part that I find trouble with about addiction, or just anything with this stigma, HIV,
Mm.
addiction, and mental health, is that we're looked at as like, well, this is who they are. They do this
Mm.
over and over. They're not going to really do it this time. Oh, well, he just passed away because he was an addict. Like
Mm.
it took a while for me to heal, even from Nehemiah, from the situation that happened there, because I put so much blame on them, because like we brought it up, we said something.
Mm.
I wasn't alone with this. There was other people, staff members, who were bringing it up, saying this person's not on a good,
Mm.
like, there's signs here,
Yeah.
And then
Mm.
whenever it happened and he was no longer with us, I put so much blame on everybody, because I was like, we did everything that we could. But the good thing that I can say today is that Nehemiah has learned.
Mm.
Yes, in this aspect, people were going to do what he was going to do regardless,
Mm. Yeah.
and it just was his time. But Nehemiah has learned. It has changed so much. They are super active, not only with the guys, but with the families. Like, it is
Mm.
so beautiful. There was so many, like, every time I go, I hear some of the most badass things. Like, there was this one time I heard a wife say, "Here I am with my husband again, but
Mm.
here I am gonna stand as his wife
Mm.
any as many times as I need to for him to get himself." I mean, it was just so powerful to hear that. But
Yeah.
they took a bad situation and they learned from it, where they were at fault, and where they
Mm.
can change their way. And that to me was like the most healing part, was to see them take it as serious as like they could
Mm.
after, and the aftermath.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. And I mean, in Nehemiah and Oxford, both of them, in both situations, both people lost a life, and it's really sad. And there is nothing we could have done about it, because whether they want to take it by substance, or take it by a blade, take it by anything, if they want to do that, that is their decision, 100%. And so they are able to sit there and say, well, they were outside of our protection, so what they were going to do is what they were going to do. But whenever it's like, hey, they have a history of this, they have a history of doing not the best thing in stressful moments, like, why are you going to sit there and thrust so much stress onto them all out of nowhere? Because while it is something that I'm really glad that Nehemiah has changed for the better, because I have been up there a few times, but not for the Tuesday night thing, which I need to try to, but now I've got 12 weeks of podcast class to do, so I'm kind of a little screwed there. But I don't think Oxford really has shed light on that whole situation, and maybe they will, maybe they won't. And it's just one of those things that it really, really sucks. And everyone has something to learn from. And I'm glad that Nehemiah has learned so much from theirs, because Nehemiah means a whole lot to me. I wouldn't be where I'm at right now if it wasn't for Nehemiah. So I owe Nehemiah a ton. And I don't care what Colonel Lewis says, but I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Like, the people there make Nehemiah what it is. So, um,
One thing that
whenever,
oh
go ahead.
go.
Nope.
I guess one thing that keeps me almost like sharing the guilt, or like being able to feel the guilt, is like still being around Chris's parents. Because
Mm.
even to this last visit last week, and they still, when we talk about it, they still blame themselves. They still were like, where did we just want to know where we went wrong to where he chose addiction. And even Mark
Mm-hmm.
tried, Mark works for a detox center, So
Mm-hmm.
he deals with a lot of family members calling about their people, or so he
Mm-hmm.
knew how to talk to him and be like, there was nothing that like you could do, and they're like, you did your best part. It was just the drug that took him and his
Mm-hmm.
choices, like. And but it's still like, as a parent, I don't know. Maybe I would feel the same way too. It's like, where did I go wrong? What could I have done more? But
Mm-hmm.
when you see that front line and like you have those conversations, it's not just theory, like, and
Mm-hmm.
these, you don't let things like that slide,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
if somebody, and like there was times where I was working night shift at a dog
Mm-hmm.
place, and I saw somebody that I knew from some rooms, and he was like, I was like, hey, like, what are you doing here? And he's like, I'm probably about to go use. I was like, fuck,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't. I knew in myself I couldn't do it. No, I wasn't gonna stop him. No, I didn't stop him, but
Mm-hmm.
I gave my time and effort that I would have given anybody.
Yeah.
I listened to him, and like we went out, and he's actually staying living in Oxford. He
Ah.
confessed to Oxford, and he moved into my Oxford house. Like there was he made some good steps. You know,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
but ultimately, I don't know, when you hear those conversations from the family afterwards. Maybe that's why it's so easy for people to move on. I find it hard to move on, but
Mm-hmm.
you deal with the family afterward.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard to forget the pain and try to not do something the next time these situations, come around.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing, too, like you'd mentioned guilt. And I carry guilt about my whole situation because I could have said something, but the thing is that like it honestly all started in Nehemiah because that's just where it started, for me. And then but the thing is that it could have stopped at Nehemiah, but again, no one was really privy to it. No one if anyone had any inklings or suspicions, no one stopped it. And maybe that could have been the first sign. If there was suspicion, they could have stopped me, and that may have stopped um, Trevor from doing his thing, and then that would have stopped the next person from doing their thing. So, I mean, at some point, I do sit there and I carry a lot of guilt on it, but then part of me is like, how much of that is ego that's trying to carry guilt? And a lot of it is like, yes, I do have to take accountability for it, and I will and I shall. And what was that?
Did you
That
hear
was
that?
Yeah, what was that?
I turned the sound down, so I don't know why, but it was, I just got a text message.
It sounded like someone had like a it sounded like this. It sounded like but no, like that's really the thing is that like how much of my ego is trying to carry guilt and what purpose does that serve? And yes, I can take accountability for it and I will. It sucks. I don't want to have that conversation with certain people, but like, hey, it is what it is, and if anyone's going to learn anything from it, I'm not the only one that can learn. So why not have it? But it is difficult to say reopen wounds, for some people, and sometimes just this sheer mention of it is something that will make someone go like, "Ooh, like that," just pulling the stitches out and everything, and it's like even just it's like, but and then it goes, well, do you want to open it? And yeah, if you want to clean out some of the infection, right? Because we just kind of hold on to it. So,
No, I love that you said that, because like being in the relationship that I am now, like
mhm.
we're engaged.
Congratulations.
But there was a lot of times like okay, so like my Christmas gift to him was an idea that I had years ago with somebody else, and
Mhm.
I felt a little uneasy at first, but I was like, you know what? That was me cleaning out those old wounds. That was me saying
Mm.
I still had some cancer in there, and I needed to like unstitch it, bring it out, and give it to somebody else who had the emotional intelligence to help me heal while we're
Mhm.
both doing this together. And
Yeah.
it was so cool that like now whenever I see or feel old wounds coming back out, I'm like, oh, then there's still something there, you know. Even dealing with Beast Boys, there was a lot of like memories and thoughts that would come to me whenever we were first dating,
Mhm.
and me and Marcy when we were first dating, and I was
Huh.
like, shouldn't I be? Why am I thinking of this? And I talked to Kelly and my sponsor about this, and they're like, maybe you're
Mm-hmm.
just cleaning out old wounds. Like you're feeling that pain again because
Uh-huh.
you're wanting to let it out. And I would
Yep.
sit there and I would like write to him, and I'd be like, "You're a really fucking big. You're a piece of work, you know." Your dog was cool, but that's about it. And it was just kind of nice to like revisit it, let it go.
Huh.
Music
Yeah.
was the worst, especially when you love Taylor Swift. Music was the worst, you know, like every song
Uh-huh.
jumps on an edge. And
Yep.
so now it's just so nice to listen to music and like just vibe with it and just
Mm-hmm.
it's background noise, you know?
Yeah.
God,
And
I did so much work for it to be background noise.
well, I haven't heard the name Beast Boy in a while, and Zuko was the dog, right?
As you go.
How do I remember the dog's name, but I'm terrible with people's names? What the?
The dog was cool.
The dog was cool, yeah. But you said something that really makes me think on that whole thing, because like music especially is such a powerful just it's a powerful tool, it's a powerful weapon, it's a powerful energizer, depressor, you know, it depends on the music you're listening to and the mood. Like you can change a lot with music. But whenever you have those old memories come back, say with music, or in my most recent experiences with just experience in general, like, hey, I haven't done this activity in a long time, and last time I did it, it was with so and so, you know, trigger point right there. Let's stop. Ouch. It's like I find that those are actually moments where I'm being invited in by myself to replace that experience memory. You know, like I'm able to sit there and say, I am having nostalgia about it and it kind of hurts. So why not say, let's take that same feeling and replace it with the experience and memory that I'm creating right now. So whenever I have that again, I'll think back to this moment, hopefully more so instead. And it's not a one and done, but it is definitely like as I revisit it again and or have that same feeling, I can definitely feel that that's kind of being like washed, you know, not
Yeah.
pushed away, but washed. Like the trauma, the like is getting just wrung out of a cloth, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah. You know, one of the best clues about healing for me that I knew like I
Mm-hmm.
had to heal, like I feel like me and my higher power, like we'd be talking in some weird way. Well, I had a coffee cup and I
Huh.
would make coffee and then I would just rinse it out, flip it over, and that was my routine. Was
Yeah.
just make coffee in it, drink it, rinse it out, put it upside down in my pantry. Well,
Uh-huh.
one day I went to go put in coffee, and I guess it was just the way that it was sitting that I saw a residue ring, and I was like, "Oh, that is gross." But instantly, the only thing that came to mind was, "Don't worry about whether your cup is half full or half empty. Worry about if your
Mm.
cup is clean."
Ooh.
Because you can, it don't matter the water that's in there. If that cup is dirty, you can have a half full, half empty, dirty water in your cup. You know,
Ooh.
I know, and I loved it, loved it. But instantly, I realized, oh, I have to heal before I move on to my next era of life, because
Uh-huh.
else I'm gonna be carrying this dirty cup that I think
Mm-hmm.
is clean, and I'm gonna be drinking from.
Damn. Okay, can I add on to that real quick?
Yeah.
Okay, so for the like last ever since this podcast really has come about, I've been trying to add so much more onto my plate and everything, and while trying to add onto my plate, I'm trying to pour out from a cup. So I'm sitting there trying to say, I need more liquid to pour, you know, and I've been asking the wrong question. I've been needing a bigger cup to pour from, you know. And that's the thing, is that like, how do I do that? And it starts by taking care of the cup that I have and cleaning it to make sure that the next one is even better.
Yeah.
Damn.
One thing Colonel used to say a lot is, what you do with the little, you'll do with a lot. And so,
Huh?
like, even like, bro, there was, oh God, there was a restaurant I used to work for, and what I make today, I would make probably in 2 months there. What I make in like one pay period, I would make in 2 months over there. But we
Man.
survived and we thrived, and like, I don't even know how we did it. Like, we look, me and Mark talk back, and we're like, how the hell did we left off of $150 a week? Fuck. But we like lived to the fullest. Like, but what we did with that little bit of life, we're doing
Hmm.
with like everything that we have now. You know, we're still smart financially. You know, being
Hmm.
financially smart is like being financially free.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I know. That is one of the weirdest things. Like, whenever I'm more fiscally responsible, I find myself going like, where the fuck is this money coming from? And it's like, oh, because I'm not spending it, that's why. You know, and it's weird actually, like, having a little bit and being able to say, like, if I, like, miss a couple days from work, it's not going to absolutely kill. Like, it'll definitely hurt and it's noticeable, but it's not like, oh, everything's in sudden jeopardy. But back in the day, it was definitely like, if I miss an hour of work, I'm screwed. So, yeah. And, I mean, and just, we've both been in different relationships since this podcast started, you know? So it's interesting that
Yes.
we're able to sit there and actually, like, we can take the earlier relationships and we can dissect them and inspect them and reflect on them, and we can actually throw them back at each other because you and I know each other really well. And I mean, we're sitting here having a conversation about really deep shit on a public platform that is like, hey, this is scary, you know? It is all honestly a little scary every time I do it because you never know what we're going to talk about. And
Yeah.
that's the thing, right? It's like, how do you prepare yourself for the things you don't know that are going to come up for something that you're planning? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
So one way that Marky has taught me to look at life is like
Uh,
whether you're teaching or you're learning, and I guess it's so
ooh,
unfair to
yeah.
even think that life will be fair at any point. But I think the twist of it is that you never know which one you're doing, but you're
Mm-hmm.
either teaching or you're learning from a situation.
Mm-hmm.
Because I still think back to Beast Boy, and I'm like, we've had a conversation about it, and I'm telling him like I just don't know what I could learn because I tried to do everything right, you know, in the best
Mm-hmm.
way, and he's like maybe you were just teaching him
Mm-hmm.
because you know
Yeah.
pain would teach you, and I know we both shared an equal amount of pain because
Mm-hmm.
he tried to be involved even months afterwards, but I was still angry, you know,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and I don't know, like maybe I'm hoping that maybe I taught something in the end, some way, form, or fashion. It might not be. I know I didn't learn lessons till like today.
That's the thing too, is that like we can't put a timestamp or an expectation on a lesson or anything like that, right? Because expectations lead me into like all sorts of trouble all the time. And whenever people or situations don't pan out either up to expectations or way outside of the left field or whatever, that can send me in such like an uncontrolled like emotional state that it can really screw me up. So I have to learn how to take away those expectations. But if I'm sitting there going, there's a lesson here, I have to learn it, I have to learn it, what is it? Then I'm going to sit there and run myself into like a wall constantly, right?
Yeah.
And I feel that it's okay to take that time, to take that step back, to try to get a look at the whole picture again and say, oh, wait, the fence is over there, like the gate's over that way. I was trying to go where the forest is at, and bad stuff's that way. No wonder I can't go through. Um, and so I don't think that, and I love the whole like you're either teaching or you're learning. And I think a lot of the times we're doing both, but we may not be doing the other one in the moment. You know, I think it is kind of like how you reflect on it. And if you're even willing to learn, because that's a huge thing too, is that a lot of people like to say, well, I know this, I have experience, and so my experience trumps your experience, so you can't tell me what to do. And
Yeah.
I like to tell myself that a lot, you know, like I like to tell myself that a lot. And it's taken some real work to be able to sit there and tell younger me, like, hey, it's okay, like I'm here for you now. Like, I know I didn't speak up for you all those years ago. I know that we kind of shrunk it back. We had pieces missing that we were so focused on the smaller ones. We weren't looking for the bigger ones and stuff. But Like, we've got most of the pieces back. We're making our own mosaic now. We don't have to sit there in the lines. It's okay to be a little different. It's okay. Like, finding that self-worth and self-compassion has been able to give me a bridge into that healing factor, you know?
Yeah.
So, do you deal with like your inner child and stuff like that sometimes?
Yes. And that's what I captioned my life story, because I shared my life story the other day at a meeting,
Okay.
and I captioned it "The Strongest Kid Who Ever Lived," because I, as a kid, you know, was full of fear, full of like uncertainty, and like relying on my parents who at the time weren't able to give me what I needed, you know?
Yeah.
And that even as a young adult to my adult life, I was still that kid who raised himself in survivor mode, living in fear aimlessly. So I had to like reflect and like forgive myself for the decisions that I made as an adult, because like I was just that kid that was just trying to um make it, you know?
Yeah.
But whenever this whole HIV journey started, and I had to let people in, I took other people's lead. There were times I don't even know how I made it by, but I had people who were there for me, who were checking on me, who were like making these calls for me, who were giving me, you know, the things that I could not emotionally force myself to do anymore. It was just being done for me, and almost like a parent would, you know. And so I felt some healing in that little kid, but that's why I captioned it as "The Strongest Kid Who Ever Lived," as in he has now grown from where he was once at, you know, and I have a whole support system to thank for that, you know. And I wouldn't be here had I not gone through that situation. You know, that situation opened up that small window, that you know, that window of like, you're gonna either go down this good road or you're just gonna, you know. I had that small window, and I was like, I want to. Not I have to. I that's another thing, is I changed my liturgy. I want to go this way.
Yeah. Yeah. And first of all, congrats on being able to heal and being able to present your story at those meetings, because I know how difficult those are. But I do love how you're saying that lived is in past tense ish, because it is like a photograph, right? It's not necessarily the living aspect. It's not an entity anymore necessarily. The spirit is kind of there, but it's matured into who you are now. I really like that, and I think that that's kind of how it feels for me too, now that I have to think on it, you know, because like that same inner child voice isn't necessarily still there. Like, there's parts of it that still kind of hurt, but it's just part of the healing process, you know. And so it's kind of like growing pains. Like, it's going to happen, so you just kind of gotta let it happen. But if you try to stunt the growth, then it's just going to suck. And what was that last bit that you were saying? I was about to go off on it. Can you help me out?
Which part? The strongest kid who ever lived. Like, he was raised. I had the support system.
I think it was because you're sharing it. I don't know, but damn, I wish that train didn't just jump down that rabbit hole. And no, but that's the thing too, is that like your journey has just been all over the place in all the best regards, you know, and it is continuing. You haven't said, all right, this is it, I've made it. And I think that that's really important to do, because I know at one point I was like, all right, I've got like X amount of recovery, I have made it, I am good, and I was fucking not, you know. And the more healing I do, the more that I see that there is to be healed, but I also have to be careful about not trying to perfect my healing, you know. Like, what is that?
That becomes an addiction, to be like, what else do I have lingering? And then you just start kind of looking for things, and they're not really like,
you start creating problems that aren't actually there. And that was one of the things too, is that like if you're always looking for those parts of you to heal, you're also in some way, shape, and form admitting that you are still wrong, because there's something I can fix. And it's not so much fixing, it's more like there's something that I can correct. There's something that I can restore balance to at some point, because a lot of the times whenever my actions are out of line with my morals, it's because I'm either acting out of fear, anxiety, or just a sense of or not a sense of, but from a place of an experience, so whenever
I love that.
so whenever like I look at all my moral actions that I've done that I'm not proud of, it's because I was acting out of fear, I was acting out of insecurities, I was acting out of one thing or another, but it was also inexperience. So it takes a lot of time for that experience to catch up and really just be like, hey, this is a lesson, by the way, bye. Yeah. And then it's like, damn, I'm in a pattern. And once I recognize I'm in a pattern, it's easier to say, oh, I can see where this is going to go, possibly. What can I do to change the end result this time? And that's kind of how, not necessarily I'd say relationships go, but I think that that's how we kind of course correct ourselves whenever we can say, this is something, because our partners are supposed to be mirrors to ourselves, subconsciously we choose the people that are going to trigger us. We choose the people that are going to bring out the worst in us, but they also at the same time bring out the absolute best in us, even whenever we don't want it, So it's really interesting that we're able to find our mirrors and be on this healing journey with them at the same time. And it's just like, dude, how does this even work? And that's the great thing. We can't plan this.
Yeah. It's so weird, because like Marky's definitely like, I'm more of like the planning and like, in case this time, like I've been through so much that I'm like, I just try to like avoid certain roads, and
Huh.
he's more of the like, but everything's gonna be fine kind of thing, and I'm like, you don't know that. He's like, actually I do, like life has been fine. And he balance, like we balance each other out, because I do the planning and the worrying, and he does the living and the believing and the faith, and together we're just combined with that like cautious but still go, like
Yeah.
ready to defend but still just living. Like that's one thing that like we talked about, like our sobriety, is we don't run away from relapse. We don't say, oh, if I don't go to meeting, and this isn't to say that don't go to meetings, it's just to say that like I realized that I white knuckled it for so long without even thinking I was white knuckling, until I realized that there was instead of running away from relapse, we're walking towards a life worth living. And what is a life worth living? We don't know. We just get to walk to that,
Yeah.
We get to do all these little like beautiful things. Like we entered that competition for America's Favorite Couple and we got chosen. Yeah. We like entered the cats into a calendar and they got chosen. We decided to, adopt cats. We decided to just build what we wanted out of like our home. Like, like when you're a kid and you're like singing in the mirror and you're living before all life happened. Yeah. What we wanted then, we decided that's what we want now. And we're going to get it, Yeah. And so like those little, like we literally had a vision board that said, we want these little things here, like these are little goals. And they just slowly, we started erasing 1, 2, 3, and it just, it feels so good to just live towards something than to say, if I don't do this, I'm going to relapse. I don't use that type of like, no, because sometimes relapsing was like the solution to the problems,
Yeah.
And so there's ways to address the problems. And sometimes the problems, like there's been times where I was angry at my sponsor. And I was scared to tell my sponsor because I want to be like, how can I talk bad about your sponsor, But
yeah.
There were so many reasons why I love my sponsor. And one of them is because my sponsor can really work with me whenever it's me. It doesn't matter who I'm talking about. They're always like, you got to remember, some people operate in fear, some people, all this, like, and without saying bad stuff about anybody, my sponsor's always been like literally the wisest person for me. He's also a
Mm-hmm.
counselor, so it works very good. But he always tells me too, like, if I'm like crossing the line and feel like I'm telling you what to do, like, just tell me. And I was like, sometimes I need direction,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah. Yeah, and y'all balance each other out in that regard so well because uh you definitely do a lot of research and planning. So, I can only imagine what the wedding's going to be like. That's going to be so cool. You said
we
y'all are doing it in
wanted
a year, right?
yes, we wanted to do like or I wanted to do a Game of Thrones or like a high school
Ooh,
theme,
not
but
the red wedding, right?
no, God.
Okay, good, good.
Imagine the midgets coming out in Oxford House t-shirts. Fuck.
Oh no, that would not be
Oh,
good.
no, 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 no. But we're gonna go with like the stars, cause like
Mm,
we've always had ties to the stars and like the fates and stuff like that. And
mm-hmm.
like one of my favorite cards is the star card. And when I
Uh,
first came over to his place, he has Echo and Alexa, but he has these
mm-hmm.
lights on top of the ceiling, and
Uh-huh.
he calls them the stars. So it's Echo,
Mm.
turn on the stars. And when he
Oh.
first said that, I was like, but there's
Hell
so
yeah.
many like little connections that like have just
Huh.
happened like that, and it just kind of feels more true to stay
Mm-hmm.
to stick with that.
Yeah. For sure. You're being authentic, right? Inside and out. I love that. And y'all aren't wearing a mask while y'all are at home and everything. So y'all are just being authentic. And that's what Jordy and I do. And it works. Like we definitely have our bumps in the road. Don't get me wrong. Everyone does. And if you say you don't, you're lying. But
You're
that's
wearing
the
a
thing is
mask.
that, yeah, exactly. You're wearing a mask. You're trying to put on a safe face for the public. And it's like, why do you care what they necessarily care about, right? It's a relationship. Y'all need to worry about how y'all handle each other's stuff. And so we've had our moments where it's like, I am definitely learning here. I'm having to learn, and I'm uncomfortable. But that's the thing, is that I've had to reflect on those experiences. Like, if I feel uncomfortable, it means that I'm stretching. It means that I am getting ready for expanding my cup so that I can hold more, so that I can do
Yeah.
more for everyone. And it's just one of those things that she gives me the space and the time and the patience and everything to be able to be myself. And that is one of the biggest things, that is like having that liberation, being able to do all of that has facilitated healing so much more, because I'm not having to perform like at
Yeah.
Nehemiah or Oxford, like if you didn't live up to a certain standard, or if you weren't a certain person in that perspective, you're not in good recovery. You're going to relapse. You're going to backtrack. You're going to do all this kind of stuff. But whenever you're in an environment like you and I, where we're around loving people that will accept us, whoever and however we are, and willing to learn and grow, then I think that's where real healing comes from. And that's communication and everything.
Yeah. And like staying, there's some uncomfortable conversations I've had with a lot of my support system, and there's been
Mm-hmm.
falling outs with, I mean, me, like, we didn't speak for like a minute because like I got really weird. And it was so funny because when I looked at our last text messages, like I reread yours that you had sent to me, and I was like, why did I never respond to that? But then it was, I mean, obviously I wasn't emotionally intelligent enough to respond
Mm,
to a text message like that at that time.
yeah, and I
Because
wouldn't I wouldn't say that you weren't emotionally intelligent enough. I just think that you may have not had the capacity to, maybe not capacity, but you were there was a blockage of some sort, but you were working on it, and I could tell, and that's why I didn't want to push any further, you know.
it was
So,
like those times I was really, that's where I was trying to prove to everybody that I was okay. My job
mm,
isn't that bad. when
Mm-hmm.
it was literally killing me. And the best thing that I could do to cope with it was find someone to hook up with, because I was like, it's either that or
Mm.
drugs. So
Yeah.
it was, one or the other. And
Mm-hmm.
um I thought I found, I found some, there was the person, I knew he was using, but he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't using in front of me. So it was one of those
Mm.
like things, but it almost became like a game to me. Like no one at work
Ooh.
knew about him. I didn't tell anybody at the house. Then this
Mm-hmm.
was after Nate. And so like
Oh.
it was
Okay.
just like a secret kind of like bad boy vibe kind of thing. And it was like it worked until
Uh-huh.
like he quit messaging, and I thought, okay, that's just the name of the game. That's
Mm.
how these things go. But then I got really sick and
Oh.
I got sent home from work and I never got better. I just kept getting worse and worse and worse.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I ended up going to the hospital, and I asked them, I was like, can y'all do an
Oh
HIV test?
man.
And I was so angry. Keegan, you don't understand the anger. I was so
Mm.
angry at
Yeah.
myself, at him, at everybody, at my job. I was literally a wounded animal just lashing at anybody. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know at this point that when you said that you were operating out of like inexperience, that I was not experienced with this type of thing, this type of
Yeah.
hurt at the same time, you know?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And so that's when that's Kelly was like the saving grace right there, because without her sending that message, because I just shared with her, hey, this is the news I just got, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
When
Yeah.
that was her response, and it didn't even seem like a clinical response. It wasn't like, of course she knows what to do, of course she knows how to save the day, but it felt
Mm-hmm.
so compassionate, it felt understood, it felt like, okay, right now we just got to worry about you getting better, and then let's talk
Mm-hmm.
about how like you're feeling tonight. But she was
Mm-hmm.
like, she went into like mom mode, friend mode, counselor mode, like all like super, like she was a superhero in that time. And I hope that I can show her of how grateful I am. And I think living the life that I am shows her how truly grateful I am for all her help. Because
Mm-hmm.
she's met Mark. We've like not hung out with her, but like we've gone to Tuesday night together,
Mm-hmm.
and she's really loves to see where I'm at. It felt so bad when I told her like maybe we should only see each other once a month, because I keep coming to you with like everything's good and like
Fine.
chilling.
Gotta let
And
everything
so
kind of build up.
yeah, and I felt uneasy. I was like, 2 weeks is just like a lot for
Mm-hmm.
me now. So can we see each other once a month? But it felt good
Uh-huh.
too to graduate to that, to be like, you know, yeah,
Uh, and that's kind of like your point of reference. So if you ever have questions or you're dealing with an experience, you know who to go to. And that's something too, is that like she's told me like, hey, she has her own like practice a little bit like on a
yeah,
certain day of the week. So I'm like, I would like to go to that. That would be kind of cool. That would be awesome. But at the same time, like she is one of the people that did kind of get caught up in the whole Nehemiah Oxford situation because me telling her stuff right there. And so part of me is like, if I talk to her about certain things, like I don't, and it's funny, like for as much as she knows about me and stuff, there's still like parts that she probably never will. And it's definitely like, because I want to like keep it like to myself. But
yeah,
if I don't let those parts out, then there's definitely no healing at the same time. But it's funny because the parts that I'm like, no, I don't want anyone to see is just like I've healed those parts. It's just like, yeah, that's definitely a part of my past that I'm not proud of. So
yeah.
it's like, yeah, like I'll talk about it, but yeah. But I do want to see Kelly again soon. Last time I saw her was because I was working on the copier at Nehemiah. So
She has made it very difficult to not read people, because like
mm,
she not only does she like read me, but she tells me like the signs, and then she tells me like her studies and stuff, and so I'm always like,
hmm
okay, that's cool. And so I'll be like just reading people and like
But see,
What are
like,
you
also,
going through?
yeah, but like you also got to be careful with that too, right?
Because
Because
then you're making
there's
problems where there's no, yeah.
and so like that was the thing whenever I first have you ever seen the show Lie to Me?
Mm-mm.
So it's really cool because it deals with his name is Dr. Light, and he went through the world and like studied facial expressions. So facial expressions are universal, right? So everyone knows I'm mad. I'm happy. But he went through and he defined micro expressions, the ones where like your face ticks a little bit before you realize that it happened and stuff. So he goes around and is like an interrogator of sorts, and so like works with the police, catching. He's the human lie detector essentially. It's a really cool show, over exaggerated of course for TV, but whenever I was learning about that stuff, it was like, ooh, like I'm going to sit there and observe everyone and everything. And so there's definitely moments where like, say for instance, someone, like if the girl's playing with their hair, for instance, right? Like some people are like, oh, she's flirty, or it could be she's anxious and that's just her way of soothing herself, you know?
Yeah.
So that is two totally different signs that, for instance, whenever my ex-wife would do that, it was like, I don't know which one it is. And being insecure and everything, it's like, oh, she's definitely flirty. And so I have to get defensive because my ego and everything is now in attack, right? So it took a lot to get to that point to where it's still like, I have to, and that was another thing that I wanted to talk about too, is like trust, because we also trust the person that we're with now at a level that we've never experienced before. And I think I know why, because I learned what trust really is, and I was always putting trust in a bucket and handing it to people and saying don't drop it, right?
Yeah.
But that's not how it works. So, do you say that you trust better now?
I say that I trust smarter. You know?
Ooh,
I still be giving that bucket up, be like, here you go. Hold this and please don't drop it. But I do it to people that like I have seen in action, you know? I guess I'm learning to study people more than just like 2 times, you know? And through
Yeah.
weathered seasons, because like a lot of the people that I have like you and my group of friends from the dog place, we had a huge falling out. And then like when I got when I got HIV, who did I have to turn to? I had already like screw you, screw you, screw you, screw you. I had like I didn't know who to turn to.
Yeah.
They were the ones who saw it. They're like, what's like going on? And I finally had to tell them, and they were like I stayed at one of their houses, you know? But going through those situations, like I know I can still trust them. I know that they would be the one. I would never ask them to do something that I knew that they weren't capable of doing at the time. But like now, like I trust smarter. I still fully blown trust people. But like it's not one of those things like where it's earned or not. It's just like I don't know how to say it smarter other than like smarter, but like not as easy anymore. I still will fully trust, but like it's limited to the people.
Yeah.
The access, I mean, you'll get your full access pass, but like it's just limited to the people.
Give me just a second. Jordy just got home.
Okay.
You're, huh? Oh, okay. Hang on. Give me just a second. So everyone, that was Jordy Reed, my wife.
Yay!
No.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because we're live. You're welcome. I'm proud. You should.
Hold this bucket of water.
We were just talking about trust and trust buckets. Okay. But actually, real quick, Simba, we are over an hour. Do we want to keep talking and just split this episode up into smaller chunks? Do you got something you need to do, or do we just want to try to plan doing this like once every other week or so? What do you want?
Dude, I'm off for 3 days a week now because like I want to
Ooh.
do more living than working.
Huh. Oh
So
yeah.
I am off Sundays, Mondays, and Wednesdays. If we can
Sundays,
make
Mondays.
any of those days work,
We might be able to make Wednesdays or Sundays work. Sundays, might be the easier time, but we'll kind of have to see how my schedule is, because I mean, I've got bookings all the way up until December, dude. Like, yeah, like almost 4 a week. So, like I've got 26, 27 messages kind of sitting over at Podmatch, and I'm just like, I turned my profile visible for like 5 days, and I got 26 messages, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's half the year of recording, like just right there. I was like, that's all, like and that's the problem. I want to get every single person on, but I'm the one having to do the post-production, the editing, and all that, and it's
yeah,
just a lot. But that's the thing too, is that I don't want to get so much that I forget what it's all about, and it's all about connection with the other person on the other end of the screen, you know? And if I'm just
yeah,
like, all right, I got 5 to do today, I got 2 to do tomorrow, stuff like that, like there's no connection there.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
I don't actually get to sit there and get to know my guests. And sometimes I feel like they don't want that because they're busy people. I understand that. And they're here to deliver a message of mental health, wellness, and hope. And sometimes they're super duper busy and they are double booked or something. That's totally fine. But it's like, I don't want my guests to feel like I'm like, all right, we're done. Click.
Yeah.
Bye.
Next in
You know?
line.
Yeah. Number 4. You know? Yeah, I don't want to do that. And so it's like, fuck. But like I love our conversations because we can go down so many different rabbit holes and everything, and we know we have our own personal experience together, and we know each other's personal background, so we can talk about so much more in depth kind of stuff. We know how each other thinks, and it's just one of those things like we mean, okay, don't come over here now. um, but no, it's just one of those things that like it's really good to have like this kind of connection with you, especially because whenever so that like that's the whole thing. Like whenever the podcast started, I still remember handing you the microphone, like, all right, Simba, you're up, give us your introduction. And you're like, no, I'm good. And
Here,
I was like,
Brian.
what? And I was like, okay. And so then you borrowed the Gaia, the Dreams of Gaia tarot deck, and you're like, dude, they called me out. And then like 2 days later, you were back in Nehemiah, and I was like, what the hell happened?
Oh
But
my god.
yeah, and like that's another thing too, is that like since you were at the beginning, like we actually had, I still have, dude, I still have the episode of whenever you were in Nehemiah and they let me come in and record with you. I still have that episode. Like we should post it and
Yeah.
record it and everything. Um but like you can tell that the podcast, the show has grown a whole bunch, and I love that the like one of the original people is still coming through. Like
Yeah.
I haven't heard from Bryant in forever. And then a lot of people from Oxford, haven't heard from them. Don't blame them. I kind of want to reach out and like quell some of those bridges, but then it's kind of like, is that my fire to put out? You know, like, but I mean, that's the thing. I've aired out my laundry, so if anyone hears it and wants to talk about it, they can come to me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell them no. So, but and then it's like, is it my responsibility to bring it up? I know who like I can bring it up to. It's my responsibility to. But then at the same time, is that just the hero complex kicking in, right? Like, can I make someone feel better by opening a wound? And it's like, step 10 and 9 tell me no.
Oh.
um,
Well,
but
it
yeah,
seems they
like,
have been born that way. They are not at fault.
oh man, I wish I still remembered all of the little sayings and stuff, you know, because like that's kind of the thing about recovery. Like as I've grown, so has my recovery. It doesn't
Yeah,
look the same as it did 2 years ago, and coming up in September, it'll be 4 years without alcohol. So, woohoo!
that's crazy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that is actually way crazier to think that we've known each other for almost like half a decade.
Oh,
That's
my
weird.
God.
Dude, I just aged us. I'm sorry. But yeah, if you want to be on the show, like we'll figure out a time on Sundays to do live streams and stuff,
Yeah.
and do recordings and all that. So, dude, it's just been way too good talking to you again, catching up. Do
And
we
I
want
got
to keep
to
going?
meet Jordy.
Yeah.
Well, I do have to like go at 8, for
Okay.
sure. That's when he's getting home.
Ooh.
Not that he cares, but like it just
No, that's the thing, right? Like, so I actually just learned myself recently, because I was focusing so much on the show, trying to get perfect or trying to learn this, trying to learn that. There are times where, yes, I have a deadline to keep. It's not mine, and so it's my accountability buddy, right? Like, it's how I make sure that I'm accountable. I'm accountable to other people because this isn't just my show necessarily, right? And so, what was I saying? Shit. Oh man, what was I saying? Oh man. Help. Help. Oh,
oh, that was quite literally the funniest thing I ever seen.
uh, oh man, I wish I could remember what. It'll come back. It'll come back. The accountability buddy kind of thing. I think my higher power was like, all right, we're taking that thought out there real quick. Just don't dig a hole. Like, I was about to dig a hole. Okay. So, but dude, like, there's been so much life that's happened in such a short amount of time. It's crazy, and it makes me wonder, like, how much did I miss out on during my addiction?
Yeah.
And it's a lot. It's a lot. And I think that's one of the scary things too, right? Is early recovery is that perceived game of catch up, right? So we're not necessarily.
That's some phase 1 like way of thinking. It's like, oh, I gotta catch up on everything, and then it's almost like you go to the period of like the sorrows of like everything I took away from everyone else involved, and then you just kind of, or for me, like then I just kind of went through the forgiveness stage, and then I started actually once I stopped reaping the consequences. I remember I told my sponsor I've been doing good with dealing with life on life's terms, and he looked at me, he's like, boo boo, these are consequences. This isn't life happening to you. And I was like, okay.
Oh, I do remember you telling me that in a text one time, and I was like, ooh, that is really good. Yeah.
It stings, but it was truth. It was like almost like, like a mom pinch, like a sit back down,
Yeah, a little slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
But damn, if there was one thing that you could, let's say, not go back in time and change, what is something that you would go back and observe, like a specter, just to kind of get that, I don't know, like experience or maybe closure or something? What is one of those things that you would actually sit there and be like, see it in a third person point of view, not from your own shoes?
If I could go back as I am today and like just look at one portion of my life, it would be the last day that I talked to my dad. Not when I actually talked to him, but when I was like using, because like I was avoiding. It was like nearing the last day. Like we were within the last 2 days, and I was getting real heavy, and I just wish that I could see myself as I was using not to like in anger, but just be like,
Mm.
this is who you were at one point,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And
Yeah.
I'll never get to, my dad will never get to see me sober. But there's just, there's something that I hold on to that version of me. I don't know what it is, but that version alone, that person on that day is a whole
Mm-hmm.
completely different person than I was throughout my whole addiction. And I don't know, that's just like a different person. And there's some reason that I've always wanted to just go back and look at that person and be like, not again, not in disgust and not in shame, but just be like, wow, like you've come so far from
Mm-hmm.
using while your dad's dying to now letting people in, being vulnerable, being authentic, and living out loud, you know?
Yeah.
So I just
Mm-hmm.
almost like go back and like reflect on that person and just let them know, like, you know what? You're right where you need to be.
Mm.
In
Yeah.
a weird way, you're right where you need to be.
Yeah. And I'd have to say that I would do something similar, you know, because the book says we don't wish to shut the door on the past or anything like that, and that's for sure. Like if we do, we are ignoring a lot of important information that helps us break old patterns and so on and so forth, not just for ourselves but for others. But to be able to sit there and recognize that that is like essentially the start of your journey, the start of a new you, and being able to see that part of you, I think that that would fundamentally change a lot of people and the way that they view themselves, you know? Because whenever, to me, it'd be like looking at the shell, like the exoskeleton of a tarantula, whenever they molt, you know? It's kind of like that would be how I would feel looking at certain past versions of myself. Like, oh yeah, that is a shell of a person, you know? But because the spirit wasn't there anymore. And whenever like life actually gets brought back, it happens slowly, I think. And it's kind of like whenever it starts, it just doesn't really stop, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. It becomes overwhelming at first, and not knowing that experience again, it's kind of like becoming a new person. It really is. And that's what I try to tell people, is that recovery, you're changing yourself every day. You're reinventing yourself. So,
Yeah.
it's just great that I have you as a co-host and friend to do that with, because I don't know where I would be on my any journey at this point, because you've been such a pivotal part in it, you know?
Bro, we used to sit there. What was it? We were always in the kitchen grabbing some food, and then we talk about something, and we realize we're like an hour and a half later. Like,
Yeah. Yep. Oh man, those are really good. Like those are my favorite days in Oxford, you know, was that very first right after Nehemiah, having you as my roommate, and then after you moved out, that's when it went to shit. Like that's whatever it was like, oh no. And
I
see, but
was
if I sit
working.
there, yeah, and but see, if I sit there and if I try to place the blame on you, oh, everything went south because Simba moved out of the room, I'm ignoring the bigger picture. I'm ignoring the parts of me that were like, oh, that was just, I was able to have a connection with someone, and then met with someone that I had to do, like, oh, I had to stretch myself so much for that person. Oh, dude, like my limits were tested in all sorts of patients and everything. It was not fun.
I
But
thought about like talking to you about like how like much I was like in turmoil in my head, but
mhm,
once I crossed the line of relapse, I was like, no one can find out because
yeah.
I was not about to put you through that whole. Well, now you
Mhm.
know because it just. But then it just was even worse on my end because then like nobody could know, you know, like
Mm-mm. Yep.
uh, and
Yeah.
just me.
Beep. Oh man. And but that's the thing too, right? Is that we've learned from our experience there, and so it didn't not have its purpose. It did not have its place. And I think that whenever people have a bad experience with, such as Nehemiah or Oxford and stuff, they like to blame the institution instead of being able to reflect back on themselves and go like, oh yeah, I can definitely see where I kind of went wrong, you know.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's one of those, like, the burden is a shared responsibility. You know, it's not solely on one person. So I think that's important that a lot of people kind of recognize that yeah, you have a part to play in a whole lot of things, but if you're trying to do the whole play by yourself, you got a lot going on behind stage that needs help.
You know, my mom asked me, which I don't feel like she was trying to start something, but I think she kind of walked into this one. But she asked me, she's like, so if I hadn't seen you at Walmart, you wouldn't have come over to visit us, would you? And I was like, sure wouldn't have. No.
Yeah.
I would have had no reason to say, hey, I want to come visit you on a Sunday before I leave Paris. You were not the reason why I came to Paris. I was like, I come to Paris to visit Chris's parents once a month. You just were never on that list. But I was like, if you invited me, I would have come over. Obviously, I did. You said, hey, would you like to come over? I said, yeah, I would love to. And I came over. But she kind of walked into it. So I think she realized it, because I remember looking at her face. She was like, oh, you're right.
Yep. Go ahead.
No, I forgot why I even brought that up, because it was one of those things where, like, that's just where we were at. Like, you know, I took the first step in healing. We needed to share that burden, you know, and life gave us that opportunity to be like, are we really, like, am I really healing from this? Am I really trying to move on from it? Am I really trying to be family? When we other, and then she extended the invitation, come over, you know, and we just now we're rebuilding a connection, you know.
Yeah. And
in a better way, more mature and like
emotionally intelligent way.
It's with boundaries, like.
And oh man, like, did we do an episode on boundaries before? I think we did. It would be hard for us not to.
I think I'm pretty sure we did, and yes, because there was a saying that boundaries have doors or bridges build walls. I forgot what it went like, but like.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Walls are no good because boundaries teach you where the door is at, or something like that.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go back through and see if I can't find that. But like, that's one of the cool things too, is that we'll be able to sit here and we can reflect on some of the same topics that we've talked about before, but our experience is vastly different than what it was before. Our perspectives may be somewhat similar, somewhat still aligned and all that, but experience makes a student of us all, you know. So we've learned, we've refined our skills, we've done a whole bunch of different things. So it's going to be really cool to sit here and be able to be like, hey, do you remember this episode and how we talked about this? I changed my mind. Or never mind, I didn't change my mind. In fact, I stand more firm in that decision, you know. I can't really. Well, let's see, we're at an hour and 26 minutes. Why don't we go ahead and cut this episode here, so that way anyone can go ahead and be like, yeah, the revival is back, or reunion, whatever, and then we can let them know sometime soon that, hey, we're going to actually have a more scheduled time for doing this, possibly, so that way people can look forward to it, and it'll be that one that's like everyone knows the two of us.
Yeah, like the weekend, like the Sundays is the two, you know.
Yeah. So we'll have to figure something out for sure, but for now I guess we can leave this episode here, so make sure you just don't leave the call just yet. So all right, everyone, so that was Simba, and here's the after take. Yeah. Joking. But yeah, so everyone, that is Simba. He's this way on my screen.
Oh.
Yeah. So this is Simba, or do we want to say your name?
When I did my life story, I hit them with that. I said, hi, my name is Yunoel Cortes.
Fair enough. Yeah, but Simba works. Simba for short. So everyone, this has been Simba, one of the co-hosts for Retrieving Sanity, and as far as I know, we'll be trying to do something more regularly with the two of us so that we have something going. But for now, go ahead and swing on by retrievingsanity.com, the YouTube channel, subscribe over there, Podbean, Spotify, wherever else you can find your podcast. And make sure that you love yourself, love others if you can, but love yourself first. And also just try to be a good person. It's not really that hard. And thanks for listening on WDJY 99.1 FM. This is Keegan, and we'll see you later. Out.
Bye. Shalom.
Shalom.